Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 33rd episode of ICC Biz Live, our knowledge episode with C-suite experts. Today, we have with us Advocate Puneet Bhasin, a cyber law expert. She advises the United Nations. She is an European Union GDPR expert, and she has many other things to many other sterling qualities, which I would rather I request ma'am to give an introduction about herself and what attracted her to this profession, cyber law, cyber crimes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, Rajeshri. But yes, at the outset, I'm an Indian practicing in this space. Yes, I do advise the United Nations or represent India for the global digital frameworks that are to be built all over the world. Considering data is an integrated thing globally, it is not something that any nation can see in isolation. My area of specialization and work is cybercrime litigation, data protection compliances, e-commerce compliances, all forms of dispute resolution, all forms of litigation involving digital evidence, whether it's matrimonial property, etc. So all in all, you could say a technology law practice, which literally in today's day and age, almost every other aspect of litigation comes down to this. Every other case has digital evidence. So to a great extent, which at one point of time could be called just specialized to cyber laws, today I would say it's in almost every other space of litigation is my area of work. My practice is pan-India. However, my chambers are located in Mumbai. In order to know more about me, you can visit my LinkedIn profile or my website, and you would know more about my work. And yes, my YouTube page, which is there of Advocate Puneet Bhasin, you would be able to see a lot more lectures on this subject and a lot more of knowledge sharing on cyber laws, latest cyber crimes, different scams, how to save yourself, and data breaches.
What attracted you to cyber laws? There are several specializations. Why you choose this particular profession, this particular branch?
I don't think I chose it. I think the other way around, it chose me. So at the point of time when I was starting to work in this space, smartphone penetration had not yet happened in India. BlackBerry was just about arriving in India with its handsets. So no, that level of internet penetration at a handset level was also not there. So it was simply you could say I started to learn programming from there onwards. When I was in college, I was selected during my law school days to work along with the law enforcement cybercrime investigation cases which were there. At the age of 19 or 20, actually 19, 17, 18, 19, I was the youngest actually. And I learned cyber forensics, which was also very rudimentary at that point of time. New and in different cases how to apply forensic tools. It was WinHex at that point of time. So slowly I worked in that space. The interest was there. I completed my law studies, completed my master's in that, and you could say in a way just continued in the area which I was working from a very young age.
So you built on your domain knowledge and then went on to the legal aspect of it.
No, I was studying law from the age of 16 and a half. So right from 12th standard, after that 5 years law course is when I had joined. So no, it was all simultaneous.
Simultaneous. Okay.
Now, as a student, one has a lot of time. Honestly, even if you're studying the toughest of courses, even law was absolutely tough. Every 6 months, you have the university exam you need to clear. But believe me, as students, the amount of burdens of life are lesser. We do have time at hand, if constructively used, can enable you to actually build a fruitful career. And nowadays the kind of distractions are a lot more: social media and all the other distractions of different eateries, food, so many things, social activities. They existed at that time also, but if you have self-restraint, I think even today youngsters would be able to utilize their college time to develop a lot of fruitful skill sets.
I mean, don't you have to study technology to become a cyber law expert?
You do have to. So in a way, I would say when I had passed from my 11th standard onwards, so that point of time I had studied science in 11th and 12th. And simultaneously, I was learning coding and programming at that point of time, which was a new subject. And just had an interest. So started with learning that, was always interested to pursue law, took up law, and continued in this space. So I would say the profession chose me, not me, the profession. It was just like,
Very,
you could say, a blending in over a period of time.
very good, very good. Very few people succeed in blending. I myself have tried to some extent. I did my PhD in AI, AI and employment. Anyhow,
Mhm.
this of course, but this is not about me. It's about you. Now, and before I begin other questions, now I would like to ask you: isn't privacy my fundamental right? But nowadays that gets breached very easily. Moment I scan social media and all that, anything
Uh,
gets recorded. So don't I have any my data? Don't I have any right to make my data secure? How can
so the
you?
problem that exists is, in India we talk about rights, we don't act on those rights. So like you're talking about my right, fundamental right to privacy, which is recognized by the Supreme Court, but the moment an application comes up which tells you you can beautify your images, or you can do something and create animations, etc. We are the first people to start uploading those images without even thinking, where is our privacy? We are putting up so much of our data, geolocations, about our activities of the day on social media. We are sharing our images, and with complete disregard to our own privacy. So it's like, when you're putting everything out in public domain, then that data is public domain data. The question of privacy on that doesn't arise, and that's exactly what all these platforms monetize on. You voluntarily are providing it. Yes, the other issues that do exist with a lot of applications which clandestinely go ahead and collect data on your devices. Like, honestly, the biggest device that is spying on every single individual is your mobile phone. It's accompanying you everywhere. There are applications which remotely switch on your microphone. As a matter of fact, it has happened with WhatsApp also, where they called it a technical glitch, but the microphone used to be on. So there are so many applications which are viewing us, which are hearing us, which have knowledge of anything and everything about us. So, as I always say, more than your spouse, your phone knows about you. So the entire issue is, we cannot do without it. We are taking it with us. We are not wanting to remove those applications. We are not wanting to, let's say, even if today I want to go from one location to the other, technology has crippled us to such a way that our geospatial skills are not there. So the same thing, let's say 2 generations back or 1 generation back, people could very easily say, either say right le lo, udhar se left jao, that theater is there, this is the way. They just could visualize a route. Today,
Right.
we are not able to visualize a route. We require Google Maps to even go 1 kilometer. So slowly, you could say over a period of time, we don't remember mobile numbers. We require the online phone book for that, which earlier I'm sure even you would know, Rajeshri, you yourself would remember all the key numbers. I myself used to remember them. So the more we are utilizing these, the more the dependency has increased. Now, obviously, with an increased dependency today, if somebody says that, do not use any of these applications, you're absolutely crippled. How are you going to operate then? Because your brain has lost certain abilities which were inherent to it. Developing them back is definitely possible. It's not that you can't, but it requires a lot of effort. It's almost like a withdrawal symptom that an addict may face.
Very beautiful answer. Very beautiful answer, ma'am. Very nice. Now, and coming to from an individual to a corporate, what operation gaps do Indian companies face in implementing privacy by design? Oh,
Well, the biggest impediment that I feel is, um, India, somehow, it was not like this. Indian corporates were not like this, but over a span of 15, 20 years, 30 years now, they have become absolutely capitalistic in their mindset. So we have always, if you see the constitution, we've been the sovereign, democratic, socialist republic. But the concept of socialism, to a great extent, in the corporate structure is lost. So when you're purely a capitalistic economy or a capitalistic business, so I wouldn't say an economy, but every business is working as a capitalist unit. So we had the developed countries work like this. And they used to operate in this way where ethics, left, right, center, individuals' rights, none of that is seen. The commercial organizations' benefit is seen. Now, a large number of corporates working that way. So what happens is consumers are reduced to data subjects. They are reduced to points of data from which something can be monetized. Nobody cares about their subjects or their customers' data protection. They see, okay, how much money more I can make from that individual. They seem to forget that eventually a company is run by human beings. Today, if my company is doing these things and not securing my customers' data, doing all these things, selling their data to third parties without their consent, I am also an individual. There are other companies doing that with my data too. So I would say the concept of karma to a great extent in corporate ethics is lost, where people have failed to realize that companies, though we may call them separate legal entities, but they are run by human beings. Your actions have an equal and opposite reaction. So the biggest impediment I see in companies actually facing with respect to DPDP compliance is understand आप एक कंपनी हो पर आप कंपनी इंसानों से बनी है. आप एक इंसान के रूप में जिधर आप दूसरे के साथ उसके डेटा के साथ आप ये कर रहे हैं, आपके डेटा के साथ भी वही मिसयूज होने वाला है. Somebody will end up misusing your data, manipulating you, stalking you, scamming you. All of that can happen to you too. So that level of responsibility, that level of consciousness as individuals, and that level of, you could say, care towards other human beings is something which is lacking in today's corporate structure. It's all about profits. It's all about how I can monetize and make money. So I think that is the biggest impediment. Impediment is not, not being able to comply. Impediment is, companies not allocating adequate budgets for this because of the fact that, they're more commercially oriented. They're more oriented to more profit making. They don't care about where somebody could be getting affected.
But if any data violation is caught, then they are penalized heavily.
Yes, so that is exactly why the Data Protection Act came into being, wherein the level of penalties is extremely high.
Now,
Apologies for the interruption.
okay.
Yes.
Now, with the global market, e-commerce, Q-commerce, and all that, how are companies are managing cross-border data transfers? And when there are several regulations like GDPR, we have DPDP, and how are we managing data transfers while legally compliant?
You want to know the true answer?
Yeah.
GDPR compliance globally and even in India has been more on paper. It has not been actual implementation where companies have actually seen what are the gaps in the organizations, done gap assessments, built their systems around privacy, built their entire product around privacy. That has actually not happened. With the Indian Data Protection Act, obviously with the level of penalization being much higher, the whole objective and the reason there is a phased out period of 1.5 years given is to organizations to start building from scratch a data protection framework which is suitable to your business. Do not copy paste it out from whatever you may get in the planet because it may not work for your business. Building a data framework, building products as per privacy compliance, building an entire business where privacy is one of the cornerstones. That is exactly why there is such a time frame that is being provided. That is why, if you will see, the act was enacted much earlier in 2023. Right. Despite that, there was so much of time given to organizations to start adapting, building. So, it's not just that because the entire objective has been that, we need to roll out the act and immediately start penalizing people. The objective has been to build an ecosystem of bringing individuals, organizations all on board to respecting, honoring, building their businesses in line with privacy.
This is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, in this context, I have a question. I mean, as far as compliance is concerned, I believe, this is my personal thought, correct me if I'm wrong, large companies are more compliant, but among MSMEs, compliance is relatively less. What is your opinion?
So the reason is because of, again, a very skewed concept which is existing. I'll give you a very simple example. I have given this in my previous talks also, wherein there was a large company, an MNC, implementing a DPDPA compliance. Now, the CFO one day reached out to me, he's known to me, and he said, okay, we've received a proposal from one of these big consulting companies, which is for like a few crore rupees for DPDPA compliance. So what is this compliance that, I'm supposed to sign off on, and why is it so much? Now, I saw the proposal, and believe me, I tell you, when that time the rules also had not come out. So I was like, just the act is provided. That's a basic framework. And, it's like a syllabus of junior KG, which is given right now for you to comply. Now with the rules, I would say a syllabus of senior KG. However, you have a lot of people giving comprehensive services of compliance up to college degrees, when honestly the truth is, who knows what is the requirement up to college degree, who's made that syllabus till now? But it's a big money market. You create a syllabus and you sell it out, and tomorrow, let's say the rules and the other things that come about, there are going to be multiple notifications under the act which are going to be like, developmental within the act, taking organizations from senior KG to first standard to third standard to second standard, all the different standards. At that point of time is when organizations would realize, okay, which is the syllabus I have really complied to. So technically, the level of compliance required at that point of time was a few lakhs. Who's deciding that syllabus of few crore rupees worth of compliance is the big question. It's a big money-making mechanism. And the same thing for MSMEs. So, if they're going to reach out to somebody and they give them a huge big budget and a huge syllabus, which, these companies have themselves designed their syllabuses, whatever it is. So there's no authority or no body really saying this is what has to be done. It's something that, any organization will think again that, okay, am I supposed to do this? The amount of money that is expected in it. So, the act is built in such a way that the level of compliance is such, it would not be that expensive. I myself have done it for a large number of organizations, MSMEs, MNCs, and it is not expensive. So that's exactly where the whole myth comes in, where there are people selling the entire syllabus till 12th standard, which nobody has prescribed. The syllabus prescribed right now is first, second standard. You just need to do that much at this stage.
So according to you, there is an information gap on which some people are taking advantage of. That is what I understand.
That's called commercial business. So, when there is a threat of penalties, so definitely the DPDP Act has heavy penalties looming. So what tends to happen is, when organizations see penalties, that's the only way you can scare organizations into signing up for any amount. So if you say, okay, the penalty is 150 crores, 50 crores, 100 crores, uska 5%, 10% should be your compliance budget. A very standard marketing technique.
Anyway, how do boards in companies react? Do they treat data protection as a strategic risk? What do generally you're a member of many boards, you treat with directors or work with directors? What do Indian board company boards do?
See, I'll tell you, Indian company boards are not yet fully educated. A lot of companies have seen the board members, the senior management are genuinely not educated about the level of risks that non-compliance holds for them. Because the DPDP Act, yes, it imposes a penalty, a compensation penalty, basically a penalty which goes into the consolidated fund of India. But the compensation aspect that a complainant can pursue before the adjudicating office up to 1 crore still survives, remains. Apart from that, the criminal liability, which definitely the senior management and the board members are criminally liable also. And a complainant can very well pursue the criminal remedies by registering an FIR. All of that does exist. So I would say the education at the board level on the level of liability and risk is very less.
So we need to educate them more, I believe.
They need to be educated right. So what tends to happen is the board also only understands numbers. What is the profit number? What is this? So the understanding the loss number, if you don't do something, is quite another. The mindset has to change.
I mean, in economics, there's a concept called opportunity cost. The cost of not doing something that may end up as a big pain in future that people are not aware.
Yes, that is something which board members, senior management of companies have to identify and understand.
Now,
They just think if I take a cyber insurance, the penalty amount is covered. Okay, whatever is penalized, the cyber insurance will cover it. But what about the criminal liability? You cannot compensate that with money. The harassment that would ensue, the level of stress that a criminal litigation or trial is going to take you through, no insurance is going to cover that for you.
True, but how many people subscribe to cyber insurance? I mean, as it is in
bigger companies are taking cyber insurance, and that is also becoming a very big market where it is being, see how many of them will really get their claims cleared is another story altogether. That, when those situations come in, we will come to know of how many claims genuinely get cleared on what criteria, because it's a very, very nascent industry. But yes, a large number of organizations are slowly subscribing to this.
Okay.
How foolproof it is difficult for me also to comment at this point of time.
I understand. Now, coming down to some sectors like BFSI, healthcare, telecom, power, ports, infrastructure. What data breach response mechanism do they have? If suppose level 1 data is breached, do they have a guard at level 2? And how do they protect once the red light flashes that they are under attack?
See, I'll tell you something. After the recent geopolitical tensions which have occurred, especially after the Nayara incident, where organizations, or maybe I would say more at the government level, organizations are still quite naive. But at the government level, it has been very, very clear that, if there is a geopolitical tension, then in that situation, our IT systems are absolutely vulnerable. Because the fact is that, if in Nayara, Microsoft had actually pulled its plug, with respect to the services they were providing. There was no backups available. The access of the company itself to its own data was not there, which in a way is cyber warfare. How can you not classify it as that? And today, in every organization, honestly, the biggest risk that exists is this geopolitical risk, because we have just gone ahead and integrated any and every service provider of any and every geographic origin of everything possible into our systems without any clarity of the real risk is existing there. I would say that's the biggest risk at this point of time. We need to really take, so as a matter of fact, for a lot of companies, we are doing that form of risk assessment now, that how secure are your IT systems today from a geopolitical perspective, where you really need to rethink and probably change your service providers, where you need to improve your terms with them, where you need to start securing yourself from your own service providers.
Ma'am, why are you bringing the geopolitical angle here? I mean, it's a pure knowledge. If my system is under attack, whether it is under attack from my rival through a pirate or a state-sponsored attack, how does it make any difference? I am vulnerable. I am attacked.
See, if it's a smaller body or only a rival, the level of attack is always, the scale is much lesser. It is easier for an organization to combat that and get up from it. When it's a state-sponsored attack, it's a lot more sophisticated. And honestly, recovering from that requires a high level of precision and a protective care that should have ideally been taken right from the beginning. So this is not like an attack which is done by some local person or through some local agencies or, random data breach. State-sponsored attacks are very well funded, highly skilled, highly sophisticated. So the nuances in that are absolutely different.
Can you discuss any one sector, let's say BFSI, with respect to companies getting attacked and recovering? Can you give any examples which you handled? Let's say one sector. Or
repeat the question, please.
Any other sector. Can you give an example? Take up a sector. Let's say BFSI, healthcare, telecom, or in any sector where you have handled a data infiltration attack and taken legal measures and cyber measures. You handled a case. Can you share an example?
Definitely, there are lots of cases over the years that I've handled. One of them I will say was to the tune that the attack in terms of data sabotage, in terms of financial sabotage that led to it, and further employee sabotage that led to it. I would say a major listed company with turnover of crores of rupees, crores, thousands of crores of rupees, was within a span of 3 days left with only three employees. And yes, over a span of 3 to 4 years, we managed to recover. Today, it's doing really well. It's a well leading insurance company today. But these kind of situations do happen.
That means what you're telling me is about is what I had read. Most of the time, the crook is in the company itself.
So yes, it was a competitor involved in that company, which had compromised the key management of this company, leading to this entire situation. So see, these kind of conspiracies, especially of this big nature to bring down huge companies, does not happen isolated. So a competitor needs people inside, and that's exactly how this whole case happened. So we managed to register the FIR, we got the charge sheet registered, we got everything done. Now the investigation happened, and finally the matter got resolved, and the company is doing well today.
Do cloud service providers play any role in India's data sovereignty risks? Do these currently the GCC craze, do they have any role?
Well, actually, you need to understand your cloud service provider has allegiance to which laws of which nation. So when you're signing up these contracts, why I say geopolitical perspective, cyber risk audit is very important, which we do for organizations to understand your service provider. There's always that fine line, the cloud person, that I'm governed by the laws of so and so country. Tomorrow, if there is any issue with that country or of your nation with that country, what happens to you? So everything can be well negotiated. So it's much important for you to think of things well in advance, that okay, if something goes wrong. So especially when we're talking of cloud and where data is going out, and honestly it's not a physical form where it can be kept within a certain geographical space, then all the possible cyber risks have to be considered, mitigated, and acted on well in advance.
So you're telling me that the initial steps are much more important. Signing up the contract, reading the fine print, getting it vetted by a legal expert.
And even if you're signed up on it, you can definitely renegotiate. Who says you cannot? If it's at your risk, if it's your business that is going to be at risk, you can definitely renegotiate terms.
And also, if needed, improvise my IT system also.
Obviously. So if you're using a service provider which tomorrow can be shaky at some point of time, you need to de-risk yourself on a lot of ways. So assessing that, understanding that right now itself, taking the requisite steps is what's key.
Do you do cyber audits for firms operating in strategic sectors?
Yes, we do that. So that's exactly where this form of risk. So risk is not just data risk or cyber risk as what people may perceive it to be. As I explained to you, there are multiple aspects to it. So your data flow risk that is existing in the organization, right now you may not be compromised by a supplier, but what are the kinds of risks a supplier can present and how that can be de-risked well in advance? All those aspects are what are very, very crucial.
But neither cyber audit is mandatory, neither cyber insurance is mandatory.
Cybersecurity audit in the company law, the last Companies Act, which was amended, for companies which are registered, listed, yes, it is necessary for them to provide that. Yes, many of them may not be providing it. That's another story altogether. And yeah, shareholders need to get up and start asking for it in the annual general meetings. But yes, it's something that they have to provide. Cyber insurance is not mandatory, because honestly, I don't think anybody would mandate it right now when there aren't clear guidelines of how the payouts will happen. So I think as and when this space evolves and there is a clarity of what grounds of payouts would be there, is when maybe, like the way you have car insurance, which is mandatory, cyber insurance would happen. For banks, yes, a small level, to be able to protect its customers, there is certain RBI guidelines with respect to basic consumer protection in cyber insurances which are taken.
What is the real cost of a financial data breach? I mean, beyond the penalties?
No, it is massive. The reputational loss, see, I'll tell you, if a customer loses trust, getting them back to trust you is very, very difficult. So, if losing trust and losing a customer, if a data breach happens and obviously there is a social impact, a large scale societal impact, your competitors are going to take advantage of that situation, which is massive revenue loss in that scenario. As a matter of fact, in the initial version of the data protection bill, which was there was actually you could say a form of an index which would be there, a data trust score, which would be there used to assess based on the compliances of the organizations. And, it would be like a Sensex. Now, the only worry in that organizations had, and, it was strongly opposed, was that it would affect share prices. Now, even whether or not you have that data trust score, believe me, so in the final version that didn't come up. But even if you don't have it, when these things happen, it definitely affects shareholder confidence, investor confidence, consumer confidence. It can badly hit a company. So maybe the penalty would be a very small amount, like let's say even if it's 200 crores. For a large company, the penalty may not be that heavy. But the business loss and the sustained, you could say cumulative business loss would be much, much higher.
Yeah, one name which comes to my mind, me being from BFSI sector, is Equifax, and the amount of data breach and the damage it did. Now it took a long time to recover.
So that's sustained revenue loss. So the penalty may not seem as high then as compared to the sustained revenue loss that happens. And then getting up and standing up back again may not be that easy.
Now, going a little bit off track, of late you would have seen that digital arrests are the recent trend. And why do people fall a victim to that? When I know I am an honest person, and if somebody threatens me with a digital arrest, there's no
social engineering.
Yeah.
So when your data is breached, people know what are your pulse points very, very well. So I'll tell you the case of a lady. She was a senior citizen, and somebody said that there is certain things, and a case with respect to narcotics and everything, all of that against her. And I said, why would you even think about that? And she said, oh, in my younger days, I had this one instance where I probably did. And that is exactly where, imagine that level of lack of privacy that exists, that she may have discussed it with somebody, and our devices itself are so compromised that it's very difficult to know, where your pulse points are being heard. There was another lady who was in the ICU, and when she was just out of the ICU, practically like, in the ICU, after that, she was in the bed room, in the hospital room. Promptly, she gets a call saying that, this particular thing has happened, and, we are going to arrest your daughter and brother-in-law and daughter and son-in-law. And son-in-law was in another hospital undergoing a surgery, and the daughter was with her. So somebody very well knew that, she is hospitalized just out of the ICU, not of full coherence. Her son-in-law has had this. Obviously, the lady would be panicked that, my son-in-law is in this condition, and, what, arrest him and my daughter. So our own data is leaking, that, the pulse point. So people know exactly when the nerve is raw, you press it there. So there are people who are enough collecting your data, profiling you to know when to press that nerve.
So my data is leaking,
it's badly leaking.
Criminals are capitalizing on.
Yes.
No. Now come to legal lawyers like you. How do you help?
Well, immediately, if individuals reach out, if they're victims of cybercrime, ensuring, filing the police complaints promptly, ensuring swift police action, getting, as much as possible the recoveries in these matters, that is very, very key. Whether it may be through police court orders, whether it may be through the investigation that the police has to do, guiding the police sometimes that, okay, this is what you can do, facilitate and do this additional step better, which can lead to a recovery. That really plays a key role. So the timeline is very important when a person reaches out. The faster you reach out, the faster the chances of recovery.
what is your role proactive and what is your role how do you reactive in the sense once more data is breached and financial losses happen, what do you do and what do you do as proactive to do audit or what proactive to prevent a data loss? What do you do?
So proactively, I am associated with a large number of companies on retainer itself to ensure that, these situations are de-risked to a great level. So whether it may be on the contractual levels, on their compliance levels, on the audit level, so everything which we are doing for them to ensure that it doesn't escalate. But believe me, there are still situations it may escalate. Then in that situation, handling the police complaint registrations, when there's a data breach, handling what should be done, how and what right. Ensuring the right form of reporting, whether it's to certain or to the regulated authorities, which are the authorities, how it should be conveyed. The use of language, the use of everything is very, very crucial. What should be conveyed, how, when, handling the entire situation of a breach notification, thereafter the necessary legal steps that are there, and yes, if there is litigation that ensues, then handling the entire litigation end to end.
How many people are in considering India? How many people are really competent like you to guide proactively as well as reactively? I mean,
There are very few because of the fact that the amount of exposure a lot of youngsters have had to this space is much lesser. So whether it may be litigation, it requires on-ground exposure. So I would say yes, a major way the law schools and the structure currently working is more on theory. Practicals happen after they leave law school, and by that point of time, when they're in AC classrooms, it's very difficult for them to see the non-AC world. So there definitely there is a challenge, and that is a challenge, I guess, for the entire legal ecosystem. Having people who are wanting to really work in the court systems. Obviously you don't have air conditioning in all the courts, the conditions in all the police stations may not be amazing, but that is practice. So I would say that that's where the major challenge is, that we have a lot of theoretical knowledge people, but the theory really doesn't matter when the practical knowledge is not there. It's simply like a surgeon who has studied a textbook and come out, and would you be willing that they should perform a surgery on you? So जिसको स्कैल्पेल पकड़ना नहीं आता पर उसने टेक्स्ट बुक में पढ़ लिया स्कैल्पेल उठाते कैसे. That's the biggest risk, and that's the biggest problem, that there are a lot of courses sold out to students at premium costs of lakhs of rupees, just courses telling them how to hold a scalpel rather than actually teaching them how to do the process. So that's the challenge I see in the education system. I see the challenge even in youngsters not wanting to get into the grind to that extent of building the skill set. It's a combinational thing, really. So we have a lot of people who have read how to use a scalpel. We have few people who know how to use the scalpel.
Yeah, that I have also seen. I mean, people have much more bookish knowledge. I mean, not particularly this stream, but practical knowledge. Very few people have. I mean, that urge to know what is happening in reality. That urge is also less. That is my. I am getting the same feedback from you. Now, regarding government role in this, they have come up with DPDP Act. Shouldn't they have some cyber fund for MSMEs and startups to help them?
See, it doesn't require really a fund. So as a matter of fact, it requires organizations to just allocate a little bit of money. It's not expensive for MSMEs and SMEs to comply. That's exactly what I'm telling you. So it's just like a big balloon that is created. Oh, this is the amount of compliance and it's so expensive. It is inexpensive. And organizations need to understand that and start the compliance. As a matter of fact, I myself have started a charitable trust in the name of Industry Advisory Board for Data Protection to be able to disseminate rightful knowledge about this subject and to enable organizations. Because I'll tell you, every SME, every MSME, every company, all of us together constitute and form the Indian economy. So a data breach is not just a data breach of 10 companies, 20 companies, 50 companies. It technically is impacting our economy also. So we need to look at it from a more holistic perspective.
I mean, this is a very good knowledge you are disseminating. Is that this is data compliance is not a huge problem, and it's not that costly. I mean, this simple knowledge very few people have. Some people stay away from data compliance in the thing. बहुत पैसा लगेगा ऐसा ही thoughts है. You're right. So and so at board level also, cyber and data expertise is not enough. I mean, according to you.
Obviously.
So coming to DPDP Act 2023, data collection, consent, storage, breach reporting, our companies acting on it. Our companies acting on it.
See, right now, I will tell you, companies are quite confused. So the companies who had to act already, we've been working with them for the last 2 years, and they have already been acting on that entire subject. And the companies which are not acting on it are the ones who are still staying confused, figuring out what to do, what not to do, taking 150 quotations, trying to find out 150 different scopes of work. And honestly, they are never going to come to any form of conclusion. So those who had to do it are already doing it. Those who are looking for ways not to do it are just going round and round in those circles.
Okay, now I'll open the floor for the people who are watching this show to ask questions to you. And in the meantime, I would request you to share like another case study of yours. So some company, without taking the name, some problem which you handled.
There are large number of cases. आप बताइए कैसा टाइप का केस. वैरायटी इतनी ज्यादा होती है ना, it's like an ice cream parlor. आपको हर टाइप का केस मिलने वाला है.
Give some live example so that people can.
And of what type of case are you looking at?
Anything very. I mean, how you helped in recovery. I would say, let's say recovery angle.
So in one of the cases, there was a banking system itself, which was of a particular bank, which was flawed and compromised. This was a very, very big brokerage firm. And for the firm, it was not huge, 1.5 to 2 CR that they lost in a transaction, which occurred due to a hack that happened in the banking system, very clearly. And however, the organization was quite, you could say, this happened in the dead of the night without them authorizing a transaction to. The first thing in the morning at 7 o'clock is when they connected and they were like, okay, this has happened and we need to do something. By 1 to 2, we had registered the offense for them. We drafted the complaint. The FIR was registered. By evening, the freezing of the accounts of the accused started. A close to around 1.5 CR was recovered. Yeah, they had a loss of about 30-50 lakh rupees, but a major portion of the money was recovered. Thereafter, through court order, we managed to, within a span of 2 to 3 months, get the entire money.
And when you do a cyber audit, what do you look at?
As I told you, in a cyber audit, what are the different risk points that are there? A risk point is not just an IT risk point, but as I told you, a geopolitical risk point existing in your IT systems, in your cybersecurity, your employee level risk point that is existing, which are the employees who may be more prone to leaking your data, probably jeopardizing you, ensuring proper access controls basis, all of those aspects. It consists of a myriad, you could say, combination of things to ensure that an organization is genuinely de-risked.
Yeah, I would like to share my own experience. I had worked in an IT company for some time, Genpact, and they used to see people who are going into which sites the IT system used to see. That was an internal control itself, but not in many Indian organizations. They don't monitor which site somebody is going into.
See, nowadays, slowly it has started where they see if a person is downloading something, but actively that proactive knowledge of, finding out who could be the perpetrator well in advance before he really does something, that kind of proactivity is lesser.
So what is the way ahead, and what can industry bodies like us do?
See, industry bodies like you can educate the members to understand why these form of cyber audits are very, very important. They hardly cost anything like, whole year of 3 lakh rupees, but the bottom line is the amount of de-risking that occurs. Organizations need to understand that, there are multiple inexpensive ways to save yourself rather than get into trouble and try to, come out of that situation. So what tends to happen is there are multiple service providers will keep selling different stacks. Ab ye laga do, to isse ye nahi hoga, usse wo nahi hoga, but all these service providers are also entering your systems. So who monitors those who are supposedly securing you? Sometimes the leaks can happen from those securing you itself. It's as simple as that. So there has to be a very strong system of checks and balances within an organization. You cannot just outsource everything in the planet. And ye uski zimmedari, ye iski zimmedari. You need to have a very strong system of checks and balance and auditing to ensure that, everything is working in your interest, in your business interest. See, every supplier, every service provider is working in his own business interest. You need to ensure that, they may be working in your business interest, but they should not hinder your business interests.
You have your own firm, right?
Yes.
How old is your firm?
I started my firm in 2011.
2011. Okay, I'll come back to you. I think I would like an article from you on the subject to carry forward the knowledge to my members. I'll come back.
Oh, definitely.
If there are no more questions, media person, then we can. If there are no questions from the public, then we can end the conversation now.
Anybody has questions, you can take it from them and email it to me also. I will revert to them.
Okay. As of now, there are no questions. If I have, I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Okay, ma'am.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
This is somebody from Bangladesh, Moinul Islam. What question you have, Moinul? Do you have any questions?
Actually, I'll also have to leave now, Rajesh. If you can email it to me, will be great.
Okay, ma'am. Let's end the conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.